Today we're talking about Dead Sushi 2012.
Yes, Dead Sushi is a film about killer sushi.
Killer sushi, yeah.
Yeah, that murders people and whatnot. So you're the one that lobbed this out, Kenny. So how did you even get to this fucking movie?
People always ask me, like, where do you find this shit? And it's like, it's y'all fault. I don't go looking for it at this point. It's really very much so people have, like, added me ferociously. I think it started when I did a video on another Japanese movie. This movie is Japanese, by the way. And that movie was called Hot Gimmick, Boy Meets Girl or Girl Meets Boy or something like that. And side note, if you ever get a chance to watch it, it is truly one of the most out of pocket fucking things I've ever seen. That movie is supposed to be a romance. It's based on like a manga, like a Japanese comic book, and it's just chaotic. And I said something very like lovingly about Japan. I was like, yes, this feels like something from Japan. It's like, if I expect something out of pocket, it's probably coming from Japan. And people were like, oh, Kendall, you like movies that are like killer inanimate objects. And you just talked about how you just love like random out of pocket shit that comes from Japan. Have you seen Dead Sushi? And I wanted to do a video on it, but I watched it with a friend of mine, drunk as shit. And I realized I had nothing that I could really add to this experience by myself. It's definitely one of those films that you have to experience with another person to even fully wrap your head around at some points. So I was like, I think I'll hold off on talking about this on my channel. But now the fortunate opportunity to talk about it with another person has presented itself. And I was like, this seems like a prime opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and that's actually a fun little thing to bring up too, real quick, just to kind of deviate. A lot of people, I mean, obviously you talk about movies, I've talked about movies. A lot of people will throw B movies at me, and I'm pretty sure you feel the same way. Like you just said, not every B movie is like easy content. There are some movies that you watch and you're just like, this is funny. But I'm just going to sit here and tell you the movie, basically. Like, you might as well watch the damn thing.
Right,
like, I can't give you another experience with it.
Especially with, like, retelling of jokes type thing. It's like, I'm letting you know. It's like, hey, this one guy said a thing, and I'm not going to say it as funny as if you would have just watched the movie most of the time. So
it's just going to be me butchering punchlines.
It's like,
basically.
Hey, man, this was the setup, and then over-explaining it afterwards. It's like, if you wanted to hear the joke, just watch the movie. I do find that a lot with, like, comedy in general. Like, as much as I want to make fun of a non-funny comedic movie, a lot of times I can't really make much content out of comedy because I'm not making fun of something that's supposed to be made fun of. It's like, you just sound like someone who takes their life a bit too seriously.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of drop it there. But this is definitely a fun movie.
Yeah.
I hesitated.
Quick. Was it when you suggested it, had you already watched it or did you watch it afterwards?
I had seen it before, but it'd been about 2 years since I seen it.
Oh, you said you watched it drunk, correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you rewatch it at all? Or are you just going off the dome right now?
I did.
Okay.
I rewatched it. I think I watched half of it last night, and then about maybe 3 or 4 hours ago, I watched the other half of it. And I was like, yeah, I didn't remember most of it. It felt like a fever dream. Like I knew I knew that sushi was flying. Sushi was attacking people. I remember there being a lot of titties for some reason, and then a lot of blood, but I didn't remember the grossness as much for some reason. There's a lot of gross just in this movie, but it's it's definitely something you put on with like a few friends, non-sober, and saying, hey, you want to watch this movie where like someone makes out with a piece of sushi and it kills them or something? Like, what do you want? So I think it's a quote unquote fun time, if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree. When I first watched it, or when you first mentioned it, it was kind of just like, okay, this is going to be one of those movies. I'm on board. But watching it, I definitely wasn't disappointed at all. I was like, okay, I'm into this. I can see the love behind this. And I feel like when I can see the love behind a project, it's like I can't hate it.
I can't shit
even
on
if I
it.
think it's stupid or whatever the fuck. It's like, well, who cares though? Like, it's just, it was made with love. So what am I supposed to do? I'm just supposed to sit here and enjoy it.
And it's killer sushi. Obviously, the people that were like, we're going to come together to make a film weren't going to be like, oh yeah, I'm about to make the fucking Titanic. They were like, no, I'm making killer sushi or dead sushi. So yes. I'm into it. There's also like a style to it. Again, where everyone's so enthusiastic about making this movie, like everyone looks like they're just so on board. And then the editing actually is quite impressive too for what I would imagine is a rather like niche movie for people to enjoy. CGI wasn't great, but it's still like a lot of like computer generating sushi. So I was like, you know what? I love that you said you had an idea and you went with it. I love the ambition. So.
There is, in this movie, there's the main character, Kiko, I believe. And her father is a renowned sushi chef. And she's trying to learn the ways of it, right? It's very specific. You have to have years to master it. And they have their own little argument at the beginning, and she runs away. And she ends up going to an inn, and she works there with a bunch of people. And then that's where the events transpire somehow. I think that's a perfect way to say it, because I still don't know how we got here. Somehow. I was realizing right now when I was describing it, I was like, I'm going to have to tell you guys a lot of shit that kind of doesn't have anything to do with this, really.